Seen that P087B trouble code flash on your Ford's dashboard? Yeah, that can be pretty stressful. But don't worry. In this explainer, we're going to break down exactly what that code means and walk you through the clear, actionable steps to get it fixed.
So, you've got that pesky check engine light on, you plugged in the scanner, and boom, it's flashing P087B at you. I totally get how frustrating and honestly, a little scary that can be, especially when you depend on your car every single day.
And, as if the light wasn't enough, you've probably noticed your car is, well, it's not driving right. Specifically, you're finding that reverse, second, fourth, and sixth gears have just completely checked out. If that sounds familiar, trust me, you are in exactly the right place.
Okay, so first things first, let's talk about what this warning is actually telling you. It's not just some random set of numbers and letters. It's a very specific message coming straight from your car's computer.
Bottom line, this code is pointing to a serious problem with the transmission. Now, don't panic when you hear the word serious. It just means it's something that needs your attention, and our whole goal here is to give you the knowledge to get it handled.
So, what does P087B actually mean in plain English? Let's decode this thing and find out exactly what part is crying for help. The code translates specifically to a clutch motor 2-sensor fault. See? We've already gone from a vague, confusing warning light to a very specific component. That's a huge step forward.
Now that we know the error is screaming from the clutch motor 2 sensor, the next logical question is, why? Well, it turns out there are 4 main culprits that could be behind this.
And here they are, all laid out for you. A faulty clutch motor, old and worn out fluid, some damaged wires, or a bad control module. And the best part? As you can see, each one of these problems has a direct solution. Let's walk through them one by one.
All right, let's break down exactly what to look for with each of these 4 possibilities so you know what you're up against.
First up, and it's a really common cause, is the clutch motor itself. This is the actual piece of hardware that the sensor is keeping an eye on. You know, this motor's job is to physically engage and disengage the transmission. So it makes perfect sense that when it starts to fail, you get those exact symptoms. Really erratic shifting, or like you're seeing, a total failure to shift into certain gears.
And the solution here is just as direct as the problem. If the clutch motor's the bad guy in this story, it's got to be replaced. Simple as that.
Next up is something that might seem kind of basic, but it is absolutely critical. The transmission fluid is just plain worn out. This is a classic case of a maintenance issue snowballing into a major problem.
Think of this fluid as the lifeblood of your transmission. It lubricates everything, keeps it cool, and allows all those complex parts to move smoothly. If that fluid is old, burnt, or full of gunk, it just can't do its job, causing parts to malfunction and, you guessed it, trigger this error code.
Fortunately, if this is the issue, the fix is some straightforward maintenance. A complete change of the transmission fluid could be all you need.
Okay, for our third potential cause, we're moving away from mechanical parts and fluids and into the electrical system. Damaged transmission wires.
These wires are basically the communication lines, the nervous system that connects the transmission to its control module. If those wires get frayed from heat, chafed by rubbing on something, or just corroded over time, that signal gets lost or scrambled. The system then thinks there's a huge fault.
And it's pretty simple. If the communication line is broken, you have to fix it. The solution is to track down the damaged section of wire and get it replaced.
And that brings us to our 4th and final possibility. This one involves the central command of the whole operation, a faulty transmission control module. This module is literally the brain of your transmission. It makes all the split-second decisions about when to shift, how to shift, everything. So if the brain itself is glitching out, it can start sending all kinds of incorrect error signals, like our P087B code.
So if all the diagnostics confirm that the module itself is the problem, the only real path forward is to replace it with a new one. So after looking at all 4 of those possibilities, what's the most important thing to take away from all this? Well, it all really comes down to one central idea.
And this is the whole point, right? Understanding these causes is the key. It gives you the power. It turns a confusing, scary warning light into a logical process of elimination.
You're no longer just staring at some random code on a screen. You're now armed with the 4 different paths to a solution. The question isn't, what's wrong anymore? Now it's, which of these paths is going to be the one that gets your car back on the road?